It's Ashley from Sweet Dreams Bake Shop, and welcome back to my channel where I make a lot of cake and cookie decorating tutorials as well as give a lot of baking business tips. And welcome to a new series I'm starting called Bucket List Baking, which is basically where I go through all of the things that I've always wanted to make but never have. Now, these won't necessarily be full-on tutorials, though sometimes I will include recipes, and I'm obviously going to talk about what I'm doing, but it's more of going on the journey with me, of watching me create the things that I've always wanted to make. So to be honest, I think that this one has been on my baking bucket list for at least 10 years. About 10 years ago or so, I learned how to make macarons, and ever since then, I've always wanted to make a burger macaron. Even before these became popular or I saw this actually conceptualized on Instagram, my sister would always say that macarons were the burger cookie. And to be fair, even when you just make them without any special fillings inside, it does look like a little mini hamburger. I have a folder going on Instagram where I save all of the things that I want to make in the future, and a lot of those things have fallen off my list. Now you might be wondering, how does something fall off of your baking bucket list? Well, usually it's some sort of concept that I see that I really like, but that I don't end up doing to the fullest, and I kind of only half do it. Now, somewhere down the line, I think I did attempt to make burger macarons, but in the end, I turned it into something else because I wasn't happy with the way that the burger bun looked, or I wasn't happy with how something turned out. I know we are our own worst critics, but I've got to be honest, I think I executed these about a 7.5 out of 10. The burger bun just wasn't quite the right color, and I do struggle with this. The reason being is because whenever you're dyeing macarons, you don't actually know what the shell color is going to be. You can count it down to the dot. You can do a whole bunch of different things, like write out charts of how much colorant you're going to need. But honestly, A, who has the time to do all of that? And B, every batch is just slightly different. Personally, I think the burger bun needed to be slightly more brown and also slightly more yellow. To get this color, I added in about a tablespoon of cocoa powder. I didn't want to change the composition of the shell too much, and then I added in some yellow food colorant. So I really should have added in a little bit more of both. And I could have also used a little bit of powdered food coloring for the brown instead of cocoa powder if I didn't want to change the composition of the shell any further. I also debated about sprinkling on the excess almond flour that didn't get fully pulverized. For some reason, I was a little bit hesitant about using sesame seeds on dessert, which is really, really silly because there's so many desserts out there that have sesame seeds on them. So I don't know why I was going with that, but in the end, I decided to go with sesame seeds because I just find that this is going to finish the look way better than the crushed up almonds. Then I made some chocolate ganache, and I chose a 2-to-1 ratio, meaning 2 parts chocolate and 1 part whipping cream. The reason is because I knew I needed it to be a little bit firmer, but I didn't want it to be too firm. I didn't want it to be like a chocolate hard patty in the center, which would be more like a 3-to-1 ratio. So I needed it to have height, but not too much firmness. By the way, a little side note, when I tipped over all of the macarons like that, my daughter thought that I had wrecked them all, and she felt so bad for me. It was very, very cute. Luckily, everything was still intact. And surprisingly, I didn't lose one macaron in this batch. Every single shell was able to be utilized. Going in with an Italian meringue buttercream, this is one of my favorite tasting buttercreams. It pairs well with the chocolate ganache. Now, to get that kind of leafy green, I could have gone a little bit darker. This is looking a little bit light now that I see it on the screen. My biggest inspiration for this particular burger was the Big Mac, but without that center bun in there. So I really was going for the look that I normally see on that shredded lettuce, but I didn't want to go with shredded because I sometimes find when I put like shredded coconut for the shredded lettuce, it just doesn't look that realistic. And I also could have gone with rice paper, but I didn't think that that would taste as good. So I decided to just go with traditional leaves made with a fancier leaf tip, which just has the double V in it instead of the single V. Now, there did have to be a little finessing here because I didn't want the leaves to stick out too much because I knew that the macarons were going to be placed quite close together, and I felt like if they were placed close together and then the leaves were all going into each other, it's just going to end up a mushy mess. Now with the chocolate ganache here, I debated many things when I was doing this. I thought, should I pipe out the ganache first onto pieces of parchment paper so they're shaped like patties, then freeze them and then take them off and put them into the burger? But I decided that it actually looked pretty good this way, and it looked fairly natural. I thought that it might have looked more drippy than I wanted it to, which is why I originally thought I should go with the patty method first, but this actually worked out. The only thing is I didn't get a lot of height out of my patty, so I couldn't add in a bunch of fillings, but that was okay because I just needed to add in a little bit of that yellow to make it look like that melty cheese. I could have gone the distance even further with this project and airbrushed those buns just so that it looked a little bit more realistic. I could have gone in with some corn syrup mixed with a little bit of vodka, and it gives it that nice shine. But I just felt like these are for my family, for a family barbecue, and honestly, people don't want that extra dye on there. There was a very, very limited amount of dye that I used in this, so I decided to just keep it natural as is. I had so much fun making these from start to finish, not a stressful moment. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you can be part of the Sweetie fam. Right now, I'm uploading weekly, so make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when I upload. Also, be sure to comment, request, or ask a question. I love hearing from you guys. Bye!